Speaking, describe image, tips and tricks. Let's look at some useful tips and tricks that will help you boost your score in this question type. First, do not complicate things. Simply pay attention to what is in front of you. A lot of people, when they see an image, it looks busy. If there's too much information in the image, they get confused and they sort of panic. You don't have to do that. Just see what is in front of you. You know the steps. The steps are understand the type of image, try to see if there's a title, is there any text written. Just pay attention to that. And that in itself will give you a lot to talk about. So type of image and the obvious talking points like what is the title, what's any other text that's written in front of you. If it's an image, if it's a photo, let's say of a building, then you immediately know that it's a building and you can make a sentence about a building. So the points are there in front of you. That's what I'm trying to say. So do not panic. This is not a test of your critical skills. You're not making a presentation to a board of directors. This is an image. It's a test of your speaking abilities. And yes, the goal should be to gather all the key points and give a smart response. But in the worst case, the information is right there in front of you and you can speak what you see. For example, here, that there's so much in this image, so it's easy to get confused. But if you just look at the steps that we discussed, or if you just see what's in front of you, in front of me, okay, there are arrows going to different people. So there's some kind of a flow and the title says it's a taxi service workflow. So I'll talk about that. Then again, there are some things that I can read. Operator makes booking, taxi service, server, workstation, desktop, customers, online booking. So even if I can't form a proper response, I can do a lot. I can at least talk about what is in front of me. I can say the image is about taxi service workflow. Operator makes a booking. And from there, the next step is taxi service server. And the taxi service server also comes from the workstation desktop. I can say something like that. It doesn't have to it doesn't have to be 100% accurate. But see, if you panic, then you'll not be able to say anything. So that's what I'm saying. In the worst case, the information is right there in front of you. Make use of that and just read it out. Just say what you can. Second, prepare beforehand. Most of the images that you will see in the exam, and when you look at the other sections like the session on templates, etc., we will more specifically look at the different types of images. And when you practice, you'll practice with a wide variety of images. So that will tell you the structure that you can use for each possible type of image. So you know that already. So in your mind, you should have a structure. Okay, I'll use this structure if I get a bar graph. I'll use this structure if I get a pie chart. I'll use this structure if there's a table. And then since this is a speaking test, you should rehearse speaking. So for example, if you know that my first sentence will always be the table in the image gives me detailed information about this, then this part that you are sure you will always speak, you can rehearse speaking it properly with the right pronunciation, with the right fluency. Focus on important stuff. So this tip, it tells you that try to focus, spend your 40 seconds on the important information. Don't get lost in the details. And the important stuff, highs and lows, trends, when there is sudden change or sudden disparity in parts of image from the rest of the image, that is important stuff. Ignore what's not important. So this goes hand in hand with the previous tip. Don't try to cover everything. A lot of times, if it's a table, right, you might see 10 or 12 rows or even, and if you just start reading each row, you run out of time and you might miss all the important points. So cover what's important. And then also you should know what is it that I can ignore. All the points which are similar. So in a table, all the numbers which are similar, or if it's a bar graph, then all the bars which are of a similar height, you can club them together. Sound smart. So to do that, draw a conclusion. And as far as possible, conclusion that is not really explicit. That's not right there on the image. So it should tell the computer that this person who's recording the response, he has made an insight that's not really obvious. Okay, so he has been able to connect parts of the image and get information that's in the background. And that will get you an extra credit. That will get you a high score. Next tip, try to sound natural. Speak naturally, just as you would if you were in a classroom, discussing a topic or explaining a graph to a fellow classmate, or giving a presentation in the classroom. So speak naturally. And as part of that, normal pauses, they are okay. You pause for a second to think to emphasize, that's fine, that's good. And even if you make a mistake, try to correct it quickly and move on. Don't get stuck. Okay. And all of that is part of being natural, speaking naturally. The final tip that I have for you, speak anything. Always keep a few templated responses for the worst case. Let's say you've not been able to understand what the type of the image is, you can't identify the theme, you can't understand the key points, key information in the image, then have a generic response that you can give to that question. So something like the given image has detailed information on a very important topic. Something like that. It is always better to say something rather than wasting time not speaking, not sounding fluent. And if it's a generic response, it will still at least be partially correct. So you can still get some points. So spend some time understanding what are the different type of images that you can get, go through the sessions that we prepare a few responses, and be ready to use them when you can't think of anything else. If you take care of these tips and tricks, keep them in mind, and when you practice, apply them so that you're also ready to apply them in the real exam.